I-140 experience letters. That is what we are talking about today on Live at Lunch. My name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law. I'm so glad that you have joined us, whether you're joining us live or catching the replay. So today we are talking about experience letters for the I-140 petition. To clarify, there are different types of I-140 petitions. There are I-140 petitions that are tied to a national interest waiver, to an EB-1 case, whether that's the EB-1A for foreign nationals of extraordinary ability, outstanding researchers and professors, or multinational executives or managers. We're not talking about any of that. We are talking about the experience letters required for the I-140 petition that are filed where the I-140 petition is filed in connection with the PERM labor certification. That's what we're talking about today. So these letters are critically important for your I-140 petition and really your whole green card process to go smoothly. So why do we have these experience letters? They are considered initial evidence for an I-140 petition. So keep in mind the I-140 petition is the second major stage of the employment-based green card process that is based on the PERM labor certification, the PERM labor certification stage being the first stage in the process. If you have more questions about that, or if you're not sure, if you want an overview, we do have a number of videos, a series of videos about the PERM labor certification process in our Sumner School Business Immigration series on YouTube. So check that out if you're interested. So for the I-140 petition, it is considered initial evidence, and it is critical that these letters be well prepared and consistent. The reason we have to have these letters is because one of the things we have to prove with the I-140 petition is that the foreign national meets the requirements for the position, and that includes experience and any skills. So in order to document that the foreign national has this experience and skills that are required per the PERM labor certification, we use letters of experience. Letters of experience do not need to be original letters. Typically, we use scanned copies of letters, with a signature. However, these letters do need to be on letterhead, company letterhead from previous employers. They should be dated. They should be signed, even if it's a scanned signature, but they should be signed. Ideally, they would come from the person who supervised the foreign national at that particular employer or from the HR representative from that particular employer. These letters must include, it's critically important that these letters include the job title that the person held at that position, the dates that they held that position, the number of hours that they worked, the specific job duties that they had, and any specific skills that they had at that particular job. So the reason I chose to talk about this today is because a lot of people are changing jobs over the new year. Not everyone, of course, and it doesn't always happen. But in our own practice, we have seen an influx of H-1B transfers coming in. So that change is happening. And just in general, when people change jobs, this is the ideal time to get that experience letter from the previous employer. So whether you are a foreign national who is employed now, maybe looking to change jobs, or you're going to change jobs soon, or if you are an employer, the HR representative, one of the nicest things that you can do if you want to keep a good relationship with the employee is to provide this letter, experience letter for their green card process. So again, it needs to be on letterhead. It needs to be signed, to have the job title, the job duties, the dates that they worked in that position, the number of hours per week, and any specific skills. So now the question is, when do you obtain these letters of experience? The answer is it depends, right? So an ideal time is when or before, at the time that you're leaving an employer or before then, because it's difficult to go back years later. So when we are preparing the labor certification for a client and we get these letters at the labor certification stage, we don't wait till the I-140 stage. But when we are working with a client, sometimes they have to go back to an employer that they worked for 5 years ago. And it's not always easy to facilitate getting that letter. So it's ideal if you can get that letter either while you're still employed or upon leaving the employer. I know that's not always possible, but that's the ideal situation. So when we are obtaining these letters, the logistics for getting these letters, when we are working with the client in terms of the timing, I said it's good to get it when you leave. But like I said, if we are working with a employment-based, a client who's filing a PERM labor certification, we make sure that the individual for our national can obtain those letters as of the time before we even begin the recruitment process for the PERM labor certification. Again, we have information on that whole process in Sumner School of Business Immigration Law, but the reason that we get it at the very beginning of the process is we do not want to get through the whole PERM labor certification process, get to the I-140 petition stage, and realize that you can't get the required letters of experience. It may not be your fault. Like I said, it may be that you had an employer 5 years ago that you can't contact, or they're not willing to provide the letter, whatever the explanation may be, but we want to make absolutely sure that you can obtain the required letters with the required information. So in our practice, we have our clients, the foreign national beneficiaries, obtain that at the beginning of the process. I know it seems like a pain and it seems like it's holding up the process, but it really is worth it to get it so that you know you have a solid case going forward. And that's to the benefit of both the foreign national employee and the employer who is sponsoring the PERM process. So what are some mistakes that we see in these letters? Number one is not including that information that I listed before, not including things like a clear job title, not including clear job duties, not including specific skills that may be required for the position, not including a signature. Sometimes I've seen these letters and they're not signed by anyone. Guys, anyone can create these letters. And of course, the signature can be forged. Hopefully that's not the case, but it's really important that these letters be signed. And like I said, have the number of weeks, because if you only worked 20 hours a week, we need to know that in the letter so we can create the case strategy accordingly. In addition, with these letters, it's critically important that the information in these letters match the information not only that's in the PERM labor certification. So that's another reason that it's really nice to have these letters ahead of time. When we draft the form, the 9089, we want to make absolutely sure that the information we have, the dates of employment, job title, that type of thing, match up with the letters that we will be submitting at the next stage of the process. In addition, you want to make sure it's consistent with other information out there, right? So if you have provided information in other immigration petitions, whether that's an H-1B petition, an L-1 petition, whatever your immigration status is, an E-petition, you want to make sure that that information is consistent with what you've provided USCIS previously. In addition, you want to make sure that it's consistent with information that's out there publicly. So if you have information on LinkedIn and the job titles aren't the same, or the company name is not the same, and there may be a logical explanation for that that I'll talk about in a minute, but you want to make sure all of the information is consistent. Otherwise, you're probably going to get a request for evidence from USCIS asking to explain the inconsistency, and they may or may not accept your argument. So the reason that company names may be different is sometimes people will work for an end client. If you're in this industry, you know this. Industry meaning sometimes it happens in IT, sometimes it happens in other industries as well. Let's say that you work for company ABC, but you're placed at the Department of Labor, for example, is your end client. So be careful about that. That's easier to explain, but be careful about that. Other mistakes are the job duties are too vague, that the information is incorrect. If you had multiple positions with the employer, you need to make sure that that information is, that the dates are listed, that you held multiple positions. So for example, if you worked first as, I'm just making this up, as a software developer, and then later you worked as an IT project manager, then you want to make sure that that's clear in that letter and you have the specific dates that you worked in each position. So the takeaway here is request the letters as early as you can. If you are transitioning jobs, if you know you're going to leave, or if you're in the process of transitioning, it's a great idea to go ahead and get those letters now so that you have them in place. Keep them in a Google folder, keep them somewhere secure so that you can just pull them up when your immigration lawyer asks for them in the future. That would just make our day, whether it's me or another immigration attorney. That would be amazing. I hope that you found this information helpful. If so, please share this video with a family member, friend, or colleague. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss our next videos. If you have questions, feel free to put those in the comments. I can't give legal advice here, but I'm happy to answer any questions, general questions, if I can. If you need help with an employment-based or family-based immigration matter, we are here to help. We help clients walk through employment-based and family-based immigration cases all day, every day. We love the work that we do, and we would love to help you. We will have information on our outro slide, the next slide coming up, with information about how to contact us and how to set an appointment. Otherwise, my name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law. Until next time.